The coronavirus crisis has affected nearly every country in the world, but the pandemic has amplified economic problems in nations that were already struggling with high debt burdens. The G20 group of leading world players has announced a framework to help those countries with mounting payments due to creditors. G20 finance ministers have agreed to suspend debt service payments for 77 low-income countries. The World Bank estimates that highly indebted countries owe nearly $14 billion in 2020. National governments comprise 45% of the creditors. Multilateral lenders like the IMF and private lenders make up the rest. But this deal only looks at suspending payments. Campaigners argue a full cancellation of all debts is needed to avoid economic stagnation and increased poverty.
We've seen unprecedented economic action by the EU, by the UK, by the US to support their own economies. And just a small drop of that is needed to tackle this debt problem in the poorest countries. But it is vital, otherwise the next 10 years will be a lost decade.
Some economists are warning of challenges trying to get all the creditors to agree on further debt restructuring. That's because the makeup of the lenders is no longer just the Paris Club of rich countries who have historically lent money to developing nations.
The pool of the creditors is different. And so the moment you have to negotiate that restructuring, it means that at the table, they have to see different players. It's not only the Paris Club, but you have to bring in China and other emerging donors, and you have to bring in the private creditor. And this is probably at the moment the most challenging situation, because it's difficult then to have everyone agree on the same terms.
French President Emmanuel Macron was one of the first G20 leaders to call for a new deal on debt. But now France has had to prop up its own pandemic-hit economy to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. Cullen, CGTN, Paris.